Hi, my name is Ryan Freeman. Welcome to my life. Welcome to another poetry reading. Today I will be reading from the giant book of poetry, Walter Savage Landor, on his 75th birthday. So I believe he wrote this for his 75th birthday to read to his friends to sort of surmise his life. But according to the dates that he lived, he was born in 1775, died in 1864. He lived, it appears, 89 years, if my math is correct. So he definitely lived longer than 75. However, what did Walter Savage Landor have to say about his life? And he does it in 4 lines, so it's a very short poem. I'll read it to you, and then I will talk about my thoughts and opinions, and hopefully you'll let me know yours in the comments. Here we go. I strove with none, for none was worth my strife. Nature I loved, and next to nature, art. I warm both hands before the fire of life. It sinks, and I am ready to depart. I'll read it once more, a little faster. I strove with none, for none was worth my strife. Nature I loved, and next to nature, art. I warm both hands before the fire of life. It sinks, and I am ready to depart. So, we don't have to necessarily know anything about Walter Savage Landor to just have this idea of what this man's life was like in these 4 lines. First, I strove with none, for none was worth my strife. What does it mean to strive with another person? I strove with none. So he says in his life, he didn't strive with anyone. Why not? Because none was worth his strife. When you strive, you're attempting to sort of gain ascendancy. You're trying to win. You're trying to dominate. You're trying to accomplish something. And he using it with other people. I don't want to strive with other people. I don't want to try to win another person, to convince them, to dominate them, to control them. Why? Because it's not worth my strife. If I'm trying to control a classroom of children, right, it causes me strife. That's why a lot of teachers look frazzled. Because it's difficult. It's difficult to strive with other people, right? Striving implies almost a bit of a conflict. And I think probably there's a reason some teachers are so magnificent, because in some ways they're able to control their classrooms without striving. It just happens naturally. There's something about their character or their way that they communicate that is sort of reduces their need to strive. Whereas other teachers, I've been a teacher for many, many years, and so I like this metaphor. For many teachers, it's something about their personality or their character just sort of provokes the students to misbehave, and so they really have to strive. And those are the teachers that have it the hardest. But in his life, he didn't feel it was worth the strife. I feel this way about striving with others with politics. I'm not very political, but I read the news and I have opinions. I'm a very opinionated guy about some things. I don't bash people with my opinions, but I do like intellectual discussions about a variety of topics, and politics just happens to be a very interesting topic because we can all relate, it's what's happening in the world today. And so I like to engage in political discussions, and I even like to strive. I actually do like to strive because it's fun. I like to get into debates, which is something some of my friends and family don't appreciate about me. But I just do. I like to do that. But you know what? If I strive too hard, people don't like it, and then it's not a friendly discussion, and then there is strife in our relationship. And so I've sort of learned that even when I do have strong opinions, it's not worth it to strive against another person. If they're open and they want to hear my opinion, or it just seems appropriate, then I'll go ahead and say what I feel. But it's not necessarily worth it to sort of work as a proselytizer for a religion or a political ideology, because for me, even the fun of sort of debating, it's sort of like intellectual one-upmanship, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right. It's just sort of, arguing, making better arguments or defeating your opponent's arguments in a debate. The strife that it causes is not worth it. So the older I get, the more I sort of back off from my debating instinct. Next line. Nature I loved, and next to nature, art. So, yeah, for me, I agree with Walter Savage Landor that two of just the things that are so pleasant about life is nature. A lot of people go camping or do recreation in beautiful national parks for a reason. For some people, maybe it's just get that little Instagram or that Snapchat or whatever, TikTok, to boost their social media. Look at me, I love nature. You see, you see these people. I'm meditating at the Grand Canyon because I like inner peace. You're not meditating. You got a fucking camera on you. You're defeating the purpose of meditation. There's a lot of fakers in the world, right? On a side note, I heard that even some people rent studios to look like they live in extreme luxury, like studios that look like the inner cabin of a very expensive private jet, and they're doing their social media there to sort of show an image. There's so much fakery and fuckery in this world, especially, and I think social media and these popularity contests that we do with likes and hearts and all of that shit encourages it. But besides all that, nature is lovely. Whether you're out with other people doing an activity like roasting s'mores, marshmallows on a fire, or bird watching, or whatever or you go out by yourself. For me, the bit of nature that I get on a daily basis is my most favorite hour, and it's not really nature. I sit in the front yard, which is more like a garden. We have a nice landscaping business that takes care of the condo complex I live in. And so there's flowers, the trees are nice, there's, a population of crows, there's hawks, there's different birds, sparrows and hummingbirds, and there's some wild cats, semi-wild cats. And so I like to go out there in nature. It's not nature, it's just the common grounds of the condo complex. But looking up at the clouds, looking at the leaves blowing in the wind, it's very soothing. And it's even more so when you're in like real raw nature, especially if you have it where you're really far out away from civilization, so there's no distractions, and you sitting next to a waterfall or a geyser or something like that. Nature is beautiful, Watching, a lot of times we think or feel that, children are particularly beautiful, or animals are particularly graceful, and it's because they're natural. They're not moving like a soldier marching to and fro. They're just sort of, they're just in the rhythm of the Tao, to use a Chinese metaphor. So yeah, I love nature. I can agree with Walter Savage Landor on that. And then next to nature, art. And so the reason I'm even reading this poem is that I love art, And I think a good way to spend life is doing the things you love. And so I like to, when I go out to that front yard to experience nature, I like to listen to the Hawks and all of that. I take a book with me. Sometimes poetry's, recently a novel, most often. I'm reading a fantastic novel, Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence. Almost finished with it. I'll do a book review of this when I'm finished. Fantastic. I love the, I don't know if it's a dichotomy, but I love, or it's a synergy. I love to have art in nature. I like to have a great work of fiction or poetry or whatever out in nature where I can read and enjoy the art and then put the book down, look up at the leaves, look up at the clouds, and it brings me to a tranquil state, sometimes an ecstatic state that I can't replicate when I'm away from nature or away from art. So for me, definitely agree with that. Nature I loved next to nature art. Third line, I warmed both hands before the fire of life. I think fire is a good metaphor for life, right? When your fire goes out, you die. I used to watch a reality show called Survivor, and Jeff Probst, the host, would snuff out the fire of the contestants as soon as they were out of the game. They were basically dead in the game. So when our fire goes out, we die. And a lot of times I think you have that analogy of people who are sick or on death's door. They become white. Their hands are cold and clammy. Whereas a person, if you see a lot of redness in their skin, they're ruddy, and their blood is warm. You shake their hand, you feel this warmth, this pulse, right? And it's almost as if they have an internal fire, and I think probably our ancient ancestors did think of us metaphorically as having this fire inside of us. When a person speaks with fire, you can feel it, right? When a person speaks coldly, you can feel it too. And so life in us, and perhaps even life outside of us, when you're in a very sterile environment, so like whenever I go to a government building, it's hard to feel the fire. Sometimes you can feel it, but some environments just have the fire of life and others do not. And your life, for me, doing things I love makes my fire hotter. And so to warm both hands before the fire of life, I believe that means to do the things that you love, or to embrace life, to really, you're not walking away from life. Some people walk away from life. They give up, or they're afraid. They withdraw, physically or mentally, or both. But to actually warm yourself to the fire of life, that's in embracing it. I think that's a beautiful thing to do. And then the last line, it sinks and I'm ready to depart. So his fire of his life is sinking, whatever it was, maybe it's its health or just his overall desire to live. He can feel his passion, his vigor waning, right? Waning, it's decreasing. And he's ready to depart because he spent time doing the things he loved. He was in nature. He enjoyed art. He didn't have a life of strife because he didn't strive with anyone. And he fully embraced it. So he's ready to depart. So that was Walter Savage Landor on his 75th birthday. Written in the mid-1800s. And he did go on to live longer. And I read on Wikipedia that actually he was very involved with politics. Wrote a lot of different political things. I believe, I don't know specifically, but it sounded to me like he did strive in his life. But what some people consider striving might not be what I consider striving. We probably all have various thresholds where we actually start to feel strife. Or that we're actually in some sort of, as the teacher analogy, where one teacher controls the class very easily. He doesn't feel like he's striving, where another teacher does it. He's striving really hard. He's got to get out the ruler called a principal, right? So we all handle situations differently. Jiu-jitsu, I do jiu-jitsu a few days a week. Some opponents are really striving to control me or dominate me. You know, they're using all their muscle, they're exerting, their adrenaline's pumping. And some people are chill. You know, they're trying to submit me, but they're relaxed. And so, you know, like anything, you know, you always have to adapt it to your own life and reflect on your own life. So I loved it, and as you can see, I identified with a lot of it. And I think it's a great reminder that sometimes it's not worth striving, you know, to try to go out and convert the savages and then get a spear through your chest. You know, we all have to make that decision to try to convert my mother to the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, but now she doesn't want to talk to me so warmly as she did before. Maybe it ain't worth it. A reminder of the joy of nature and art, which I believe is universal. Perhaps all of us in our own ways, we like to do our own activities in nature, and maybe yours really is getting that Instagram snap. I don't judge. Maybe that's your art. I warm both hands before the fire life. I think that's one of my favorite metaphors, to really get up next to that fire. Get right up next to it. Warm yourself, you know? It's a gift. Fire's a gift. Life's a gift. So embrace it. Okay, letting my fire out a little bit right now. And then when it sinks, you know, you're ready to depart. You know, that's just, you know, fires go out. Our fires go out. And, you know, to be ready. Not trying to claw and cling. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on Walter Savage Landor on his 75th birthday. Let me know what you think. And bye.